In today's episode, we're going to be drafting basically your lineup versus my lineup of our favorite slash the best Star Wars movies and TV shows. You can draft any show, any TV show, any movie. If you want to take the holiday special with your first round pick, Joey, I'm not going to stop you. And then once we've both drafted our lists, we'll pit them against one another. Those of you watching live, if you'd like to weigh in on the conversation, if it's like, oh, Ben, that was such a dumb pick, or I think this about Joey's pick versus Ben's pick. We'd love to hear your voices in this conversation as well. The draft wars is beginning. I'm going to pick first. We're going to go back and forth. We're not going to do snake draft style. I would have been okay going second for this one. The pressure to pick first is tough. I think there's an obvious pick for the best Star Wars movie or TV show. I would be remiss if I didn't start. I think my mindset goes straight to I think I have to pick a movie first because that feels iconic almost. And if I have to pick a movie, and I want to pick a movie, I think you have to go with episode 5. So for my first draft pick in Draft Wars, I'm going Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Episode 5. I think it is my personal favorite Star Wars movie. Although I will say Revenge of the Sith, I think is a close second. Ooh, not to share too many of my cards early.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Maybe I get to snipe and get it.
Yeah. I love Empire Strikes Back. For me, it's the most iconic Star Wars film. It's the namesake of our podcast, Hoth Hangout. And I think this is generally also considered to be, I think, on average, the favorite movie of Star Wars fans. We know, obviously, with exceptions. Like I know your personal favorite movie, if I remember correctly, is not Empire Strikes Back. Not to give too much away, but I think I'm gonna play it strong but safe and go Empire Strikes Back for my number 1 pick in the draft.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good, solid pick. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, definitely a fan favorite. Everybody loves that movie. And it's like the power stud running back, in a football draft. It's like if you're the number 1 pick, you almost have to get that right. So, yeah, solid pick. But I think I'm ready for my next one. You ready to hear this one?
Is this out of left field?
I wouldn't say left field, but the pick is in as shown by that audio. You do know my favorite movie, obviously. But I like to mix things up here, Ben. I don't always want to just do something that everyone's expecting to get the the Patrick Mahomes here coming right out of the gate. We're gonna go a little bit deeper into it. I'm gonna pick the Clone Wars TV series.
Oh, that's a great pick.
for my first pick. As much as Empire Strikes Back, and I'll be honest, even if I got the number 1 pick, I probably still would have gotten Clone Wars, to be honest. So but it works out even better in this case because with Empire Strikes Back, the most favorited movie, I think it's pretty safe to say that the Clone Wars series, is the, if not all of TV, definitely the most favorite of the animated series, right? So, I'm gonna go with Clone Wars. I mean, it's kind of like the origins of Ahsoka Tano, one of the most revered characters in Star Wars now. Obviously, you see everything with the development of the friendship, the brotherhood between Anakin and Obi-Wan. So much great stories. Even Asajj Ventress is in there. You get to learn a lot more about some of the Jedi, Quinlan Vos. So just everyone. So I think that this was an easy slam dunk for me, especially that when you picked Empire Strikes Back at 1.
I think that's a really good, solid pick. It's definitely by far the best animated show, and you could even make the case the best show in general. I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Right.
So yeah, I like that pick. Okay. There's part of me that kind of wants to vary it a little bit and go with a TV show, but I Gosh, I'm between a couple things right now, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just have to go ahead and stick with my second favorite Star Wars movie and say Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3 for my second draft pick. There's a lot of people who might say that Revenge of the Sith is not like the same level of quality as perhaps Empire Strikes Back is. But interestingly, and I don't know if you feel this way or not, I feel like the last 10 or 15 years, we've seen a lot of people come out and say, like, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like almost like the generation that was born as the prequels were coming out and hearing the generation before them say, "Oh, these are not the originals." And then like the generation that was born during the prequels got to witness the sequels coming out and saying, maybe the prequels like are actually not that bad, you know?"
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's clearly the best prequel film, and more than anything, it is the linchpin of Star Wars, I would argue. This movie is. It's the ultimate downfall of Anakin, the descent from Jedi to Sith, from Skywalker to Vader. It has, I think, the best choreographed scene in all of Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
in the Battle of Heroes on Mustafar. I think that scene alone really captures a lot of why I love this movie. I think, especially as a kid, those lightsaber duels are just like quintessentially what attracted me to Star Wars in general. And so it may not be Empire Strikes Back for me, but it's really close, honestly. And so I got to go with this as my second pick. So I've got my two favorite movies in my 1 and 2 spots.
Very nice. Well, we ready for my second pick?
Yes.
All right. So, you got the best movie. I have the best animated movie, right? Animated series. I think I have to go after the best TV series now. Like that's where my
Yeah.
thought process is at now, right? I mean, because I have a feeling where you would go the next route for your next pick. So now I'm thinking about, can I hold off on a pick that I may go now, just so I can get the best TV series. And to me, best TV series was Andor. So I'm picking Andor at number 2. I know people are just going crazy. They're like, wait, what? You're going to pick Andor at your number 2 pick? Yes, this is what I'm doing. Just to fill out my roster with like the best of the best. You know how you can get the best available like receiver, the best available quarterback. That's kind of where I'm thinking right now. So I'm going with Andor. You and I really, really enjoyed this show for the seasons that it was out. The first thing that we ever watched together was Andor, and we would talk for hours on end about one episode. So not only does it hold a big meaning to kind of this podcast, but also for a lot of the people who may not even necessarily been Star Wars fans, but just liked good shows, like good writing, great characters, and I think Andor was that. Again, I know it's not any movie, and especially I'm thinking about the people who just don't even watch the TV shows and the animated shows. I'm looking at you, Aspire Sports. I know you don't like the animated stuff, but that's where I'm going with this pick. I'm going to go with Andor, one of the best written shows, definitely in Star Wars. I think the Star Wars universe, Andor is my number 2 pick.
What we have right now, both of our first 2 picks, those are my top 4 on my board. I don't know if it's that much of a stretch to say. I mean, it's clearly the best, most well-written TV show, Star Wars TV show. I don't know if it's a huge stretch to say it's the most well-written Star Wars piece of content. Now, that might be a little bit of a hot take, but those of you who are still holding out on it, I think you got to watch it. I think you got to watch Andor. It's a really incredible show. So I'm a big fan of your number 2 pick, especially there. Okay. I'm going a little bit of strategy here on this one. And there's a reason for this pick. Partially because I want to get a little bit on the board with TV show stuff. And I think in the context of Star Wars TV, there's 3 shows that I would argue are definitively the best 3 shows. Now, others might disagree. You have 2 of them in your draft content. I feel like I'm going to pick the third one here. I could have dipped into one of the original trilogy movies, perhaps. Could have gone elsewhere, maybe even. But I'm gonna go with another Star Wars animated show. I am actually gonna go with Star Wars Rebels.
Ah!
Was that the route you were going next?
No, but I just hate it not being on my team. That's all.
Yeah, I am a huge fan of Rebels. I think, interestingly, when I watched the first season of this back whatever year it was, I wasn't the biggest fan, and I think this is the only Star Wars show. Let me think about this, but I think I feel confident saying it. I think it's the only Star Wars show where it feels like it definitively gets better every single season. Now, don't get me wrong, Clone Wars is great pretty much through and through. Um, but Rebels just feels like it incrementally gets even better and better as it goes. The characters are really lovable characters. You develop a bond with them over the course of the show, and now we're seeing them even included into more stuff in live action in Ahsoka with Ezra and Sabine and Hera. The reason I love Rebels, I think, particularly, and I know I've talked about this before on the podcast, is because it it doesn't just it's not just okay being a kids TV show. I think what pushes Rebels into the same almost category as Clone Wars, I would argue, is that it is exploring what it means. It's exploring what the Force is really in a lot of the show. Some of my favorite episodes of the Clone Wars are the episodes where it's about the brother, the sister, and the father. Some of my favorite episodes of Rebels are the episodes with the Bendu, where it's like, what is the Force? Is it light and dark? Is it balance? Is it good and evil? And so when they kind of delve into that content, when they explore there being more than just good guys and bad guys, I really like that stuff. That's what I'm really attracted to in Star Wars shows. That's fun content, and for me and personally. And so I gotta get a TV show on my list today, and I gotta go Star Wars Rebels with my third pick.
In the same breath, I need to finally step into the movie land, I think. So with my next pick, I think we're ready. And this is an obvious one. I mean, you said it kind of earlier on that when you were getting your number one pick, one of my favorite movies is, and this is a nostalgia pick for sure. But yeah, I'm going to go with Return of the Jedi, my favorite movie of all of Star Wars, honestly. I mean, you've got Luke finally being who he's going to be. He's no longer that whiny kid, the whiny farmer kid. He's coming to his own. He even walks in. He even walks into that first scene knowing that he's taking control of Jabba's palace there, and he just walks in there. He shoos the dude aside, and he's got all that confidence. He's got all that swag. Is that what the kids say still? Swag? I'm not quite sure, but he's got all of it. Drip. I don't know. But he walks in. He definitely knows he owns the room. One of the best battles also with him and Darth Vader there at the end, where they're fighting there in front of the Emperor, and there's that scene where Luke's kind of hiding. This is one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars. Luke's kind of hiding. Vader's like taunting him. He's like, oh, your thoughts are betraying you, and then he's like, oh, a sister. You have a twin sister, And then just that whole scene, and you see Luke just completely lose it, goes off on him there. I could have gone without maybe the Emperor just dying by being thrown off of a high cliff or right into the reactor there. That's probably one of the things I'm like, okay, he could have went on a little bit better than that, I think. But other than that, my favorite movie of all time in Star Wars. So just like how you picked yours, kind of with that nostalgia feel, your first two picks, I can't go through the entire draft without picking a movie. I mean, I think that's just wild and crazy. You can't do that. So yeah, Return of the Jedi would be my number 3 pick. And like you said earlier, it really depends on the time that you grew up. what your Star Wars was, and this was my generation of Star Wars. If you're talking about, what's most important in Star Wars for me, Return of the Jedi for sure. But given this is the draft, I knew it'd still be there at 3, and I was right.
I'm liking how these lists are playing out. I'm actually really curious what our 5th picks are going to be, because I feel like there's a little bit of a level of drop off after like the 8th or 9th best thing, maybe. And so I'm actually really curious about our 5th picks, but not to get carried away because we've still got our 4th picks here. All right, sounds like it's time for my pick to be in. I know I'm going with one of two things. I think this is the best best Star Wars movie made since Disney acquired Star Wars. I am going to go with Rogue One for my 4th pick.
Such a good pick.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal film. It makes you care so much about the characters. To connect it to one of your picks, Andor has retrospectively or retroactively, whatever the word is, made Rogue One, I think, an even better film. This is a movie that is humorous. It has characters that I think we've talked about this before, but that we both connect with a lot. And it's, again, the best Disney Star Wars film. It is not a flashy movie. It is not a lightsaber filled movie. It's not even really much about the Force, other than, with the exception of one character really in particular. I think I'm going to go Rogue One for how grounded it feels. Coming off of watching season 2 of Andor, it's made me appreciate that style of Star Wars even more. Kind of like we were talking during the news segment with Starfighter. Like, the more that Disney, I think, leans into this sense of grounded storytelling, not needing it to be fantastical in order to get, ticket sales or people to like it. Rogue One is the kind of stories that I want to see told more of in the future of Star Wars. And that's a lot of the reason I'm going to go ahead and slot it in at my number 4 pick.
I'm a little bit upset I didn't get that, but yeah, I think that's a good 4th pick. But my pick here, I can go the kind of easy, nostalgic route. I can go, some of the more important, TV things and stuff like that. I think I almost have to. This is one of those picks when he's still on the board. You know what I mean? He's still on the board. There's no way that you can let this go, one more round further. You're just happy it made it this long. So New Hope, episode 4. At number 4 for me, I think it just seems like, I know there are people out there, some of the maybe some of our old school viewers here, they're like, I can't believe you went this long without picking number 4. Again, it's a draft strategy. You try to figure out your opponents and try to figure out how long it'll last. But I think at this point, you can't let A New Hope go any further down in the draft. Of course, the movie that started it all, in the theaters in 1977, before you and I were even a thought in our parents' brains. So I think this is an easy pick at 4. A lot of it, is that they just have very memorable lines, memorable moments in this movie. And I can't even imagine being there in 1977, seeing this on the big screen for the first time with these laser swords and being in space and, all this stuff. Like, I can't imagine it, like how impressive, how exciting it was at that time. And obviously, here we are, how many years later, still talking about the movie that started it all. So part of me does feel a little bit bad that it slipped this far, but at the same time, again, that there's been a lot of Star Wars since then too. So this one was the one that started it all. So it's very important that it made on one of our drafts at all, and more importantly that it gets the recognition it deserves.
I would have 100% picked that if you would have passed on it, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Going back and forth between a couple things, but I like New Hope a lot for your 4th pick. I think I know what I'm going to do with my 5th pick. I think the 5th pick would have been a lot easier about what was it, 3 years ago when this came out. I think it would have been easier because the first 2 seasons of this show are worthy of being in this set of 10. The third season of this show was a relatively big letdown. I do think though, outside of Andor, I would probably still consider this the best live action Star Wars show, even with season 3 of this show. And so for that reason, I got to go with Mandalorian for my 5th and final pick. But Mandalorian, I think for me, the connection between Din Djarin and Grogu, especially in the first 2 seasons, the conclusion of season 2 is, I mean, 50 years from now, people might look back at the entire history of Star Wars, and outside of I Am Your Father, the scene where Luke comes onto the ship might be like the most memorable moment in the history of Star Wars when we look back on it when it's all said and done, decades from now. It is the first live action Star Wars story that they did, and so it kind of kickstarted the whole thing. And would we have Ahsoka or Kenobi or Andor or all these other shows without the Mandalorian's success? Kind of during that early COVID time when everyone was like all in on watching shows during lockdown and whatnot. It's a redeeming story of kind of a tough guy character who befriends the small and innocent and lovable child, and they form this special bond in a way that really draws you to the story and who the characters are. I'm excited to see more of them. I love them in this show, particularly seasons 1 and 2. And for all those reasons, I think I've got to take it at my 5th and final pick.
So we got the last pick of the draft here. For those who have viewed previous drafts and previous what are the other things that we do? Oh, like tier lists and whatever, everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes I decide to throw in something a little bit memey, mainly because not of like how important it was to Star Wars at all, but like how wrong it really was to Star Wars at all. We don't know exactly, and I will say here on the Health Hangout podcast, we did an episode on this particular show a while ago. For some reason, we still get hits on that video, and it's been like years. So, with the final pick of this Draft Wars content collection, I'm going to go with the Star Wars Holiday Special from 1978. For those who have not seen this, that's fine. But at the same time, you gotta understand, like, when you're watching this type of show, that there was so much probably going on in the world or in Star Wars or in Hollywood. They're like, we have to capitalize on Star Wars now. How do we do it? Well, what do people like? They like music. They they like dancing. They like Star Wars. So let's just throw it all together in one blender and see what comes out at the other end. And this is what came out of it. So although maybe not the most popular or most liked piece of content that ever came out of Star Wars, this was actually the one of the things that I thought needed to be on this draft because it's just too funny. It's something that was maybe not important, but it's something that we have to remember exists, because if not for this, we know that there is some Star Wars out here. And in the list that I gave Gibbo was the very last one, and Gibbo said, I nearly didn't make this graphic thinking no one would pick it. So I'm glad you did, Gibbo. Good job, because otherwise you'd be scrambling for it right now. And I think it worked out perfectly because I am the last pick of the draft. If I was at your position at 5, I couldn't get it, but I think now that I was the last pick, I think it only makes sense that it would be the last pick. These top 9 picks that we did, those are like top tier, obviously. And then there's like a second tier that's maybe 5, 6, 7 things deep, and then the rest is kind of like there. I mean, like they're just like, okay, it's there. I'm looking at like things like Skeleton Crew, the Acolyte to some. Star Wars Resistance, things like that, where you're just like, okay, it's there. Young Jedi Adventures, they're all there. They're part of Star Wars, but they don't grab you. They don't grab you like these first 9 really do. Things like Ahsoka and obviously Phantom Menace, even like Kenobi or Visions, those are things that, really are, these are, great pieces of work. But I thought it'd be a little bit funnier if I just picked something like the holiday special for the last pick.
I respect it. I respect the holiday pick. If I was gonna give only one honorable mention, I would probably give my honorable mention to Bad Batch. I just think it's a show that has no business being as good as it is. So that would be my honorable mention, the way that you're able to connect with the characters in that show. And then my maybe a secondary honorable mention. You already said Phantom Menace, but I love Darth Maul so much. I'm excited for the show about him coming out next year. That'd probably be another honorable mention for me too.
What would if I didn't pick a meme? That's a question that it would probably be something like Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace probably there. Maybe Ahsoka. Something a little bit further out, maybe would be questionable. But Tales of the Jedi, kind of the first of that series, was really impactful and kind of shocking how enjoyable it was.
Yeah, Tartakovsky's. It's the 2D animated one, which there's 2 episodes of that show in particular that I love. It's the episode with Anakin and Asajj on the temple, and then the other one is Grievous when he fights 4 Jedi all at the same time.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, that show's got some memorable scenes. Lots of good stuff that we could have put on this list. Honestly, it kind of would have been interesting to if we would have gone 10 or 12 deep. Or each time we're on pick number 12, we're
yeah.
Tales of the Underworld.
Tales of the Underworld.
Yeah. Our final lists are, for me, I had Empire Strikes Back, Revenge of the Sith, Rebels, Rogue One, Mandalorian, while Joey had the Clone Wars series, Andor, Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, and the Star Wars Holiday Special.
What a ridiculous ending to that.
I think the holiday special is arguably more memorable because it is so just wild and out there. And let us know down in the comments what you think about these picks as well. And let us know your 5 picks, what you would have for each of your 5 favorite Star Wars pieces of content. Let us know where we messed up on our list. Where did we go right? Where did we go wrong? I
think we know what we know. One of them.
No comments about the holiday special at all.
We know it's a joke.